Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. We are here with a distinguished gentleman, Dr. Quentin Henney, who is an independent investor and geologist with over 25 years' experience with some of the largest mining companies in the world. We're going to pick his brain about a variety of different topics here with regards to gold and gold mining, and what he sees as the potential for gold itself and the mining sector. So, Doctor, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Pleasure to be here, Sal.
So we've seen a lot happen. Actually, we've spoken before, and there's a lot that has happened since our last conversation in the economy, and we are seeing some massive changes, not only in terms of inflation. Producer price index has now been reported at 9.7% year over year. Consumer price index is 7.5% year over year. The value of the dollar is degrading. But one thing is for sure, gold is stable. But people are a little bit frustrated, and they're not sure when is it going to really break out? When is it going to hit those all-time highs again, like it did in March of 2020? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, look, it's been about 18 months now, and gold has been largely moving sideways. You look at peaked in August of 2020. It peaked a little bit over $2,000 an ounce. Right now, it's about 1870, so it's down a few percent, not much, but it has been moving sideways. But if you notice, just in the past week or so, there has been a visible breakout in the overall trend. I think gold is finally starting to find its legs. Might be a little bit early to say we're in a full-on breakout, but I think we're getting pretty darn close. It's funny that gold, everybody says, oh my goodness, gold, should be behaving much more buoyantly given the inflation we're seeing. And we are seeing considerable inflation, like you said. But gold actually tends to forecast inflation. Okay, so the rise that we've seen in inflation most recently, say within the past 6 or 8 months, was actually forecast by gold prices in 2020. Okay, well, what does this recent uptick in gold mean? I think it's forecasting the next round of inflation. Look, back in the 1970s, an inflationary period, it was not just a straight line up. Inflation didn't behave like a long uphill slope. It actually went up, it would go down a bit, go up and go down a bit. And it was cyclical. Over the period of about 10 years, it went up and down about 3 or 4 times. And we're going to see the same thing here. I think we've kind of completed, we'll call it phase 1 or wave 1. I think we're now heading into wave 2. It's going to be very impactful on a lot of people, and very unfortunately, I think it's going to have very serious effects on people. This next wave it's going to be harder. Will it be followed by a third wave? Maybe, but I do think we're into an inflationary period, and I think it's going to last several years.
That's amazing. That's actually analysis I've never heard before, that gold could actually forecast this inflationary cycle that we are in, and that high price in August of 2020 was it. And so things that we're seeing, the little blips that you're talking about when gold moves up and down, we saw one of those just recently with an invasion fear of Ukraine. And so we saw gold spike up a bit, and now it has pulled back a little bit because the situation has changed a bit, and now Russia is pulling back, or at least that's what some people are saying for the moment. But geopolitics and other factors do play a role, but those are essentially blips, it sounds like, from what you're talking about here. But the overall message is that gold is on the rise, and when we're seeing inflation, it's just going to come in even hotter, and gold price will forecast it again and follow.
That's correct. It's starting to. Yes, while everybody would like to ascribe the price increase or this, what you call little blip that we've seen in the past week or so, to the Russian Ukraine situation, I don't think that's quite true. I think there's a lot more that's already baked in the cake. And I think basically the buoyancy that gold's displaying right now, and I do think it's broken out here. I know it's a bit early, but I'm going to be an optimist, and I'm going to say that it has broken out. I would say that this period that we're heading into is going to be a resounding uptick in the gold price in U.S. dollars. All currencies really. It's going to be upwards from here. I think looking at looking in the rearview mirror, $1,800 gold probably won't be seen again, like ever.
Wow.
I think from here, we're going to be. It's formed a giant cup and handle basically. If you look, the cup formed between September 2011 and then August of 2020, and we're now in the handle phase. If you look just in the past 18 months, it's come off, but it's now moving upwards. And once it forms that handle, once it basically breaks out, as we know, handles tend to break upwards. Once it breaks up, there's a lot of room for it to move upward from here.
And I think that is evident in the buying and the great demand in gold we've seen over the past year. It's amazing to see figures from the United States Mint and other large mints around the world that have shown massive sales of gold, and bullion dealers have been really busy. It's been shocking, and a lot of that is supply chain issues as well. We know that's playing a role, but there has been a great demand for gold, not only in the physical but in the ETF space as well. What are your thoughts about this great demand we're seeing for gold? Does it just confirm all of your suspicions and all of your analysis?
It does. I mean, when you say a great increase, it is, you're seeing a lot more buying of gold, but there's a certain amount of constriction on the ability for people, your average person, to go off and buy gold. Okay, most people in this country, in the U.S., do not even understand how to get access to gold. I can't tell you how many people have asked me, where can I invest in gold? Where can I buy gold? And I have to explain different avenues they can pursue. Most people don't even know it. There is an increase, and it's a lot of very smart people who realize what's happening here. So yes, the smart money is definitely pursuing gold, physical gold in particular, and silver. But I think what you're going to see is, as more and more people get educated, we'll call it, you're gonna see that demand increase. So I think you're going to see it become more and more important to a lot of people to get a hold of gold. Gold is really an insurance policy if you think about it. It's what retains its value when basically any currency debases. So if people feel like they need an insurance policy on their financial health or wealth, then having a little gold isn't going to hurt. And I think we're going to see more and more people gravitate to it over the next few years.
Turkish people certainly understand it. I just did a video about what's happening in Turkey. The central bank and the government of Turkey want to buy the people's gold that's underneath their mattresses, and they're not biting. They're not going to sell. They've got a great history of bad blood with the government, and how the lira has lost 48% of its value over the last year. So it's something to see. Now, with all the great demand that we're seeing for gold, that means that it's got to be pulled out of the ground to keep up with the demand. And you, and being a geologist with your years of experience, and there's several different years of peak mining that we've seen over a certain amount of years, and we haven't really seen a peak mining forecast I've seen lately. I haven't seen any, but there's been a couple different periods of time. Do you know when the next peak will be, or if it will be the peak?
Look, that's a very good question. Right now, the new yearly gold production on Earth is a little over 90 million ounces. Last I checked, I think it was around 93 million ounces. Look, the increase in gold price does have an impact on the the margin, the ability to mine gold. So what you must remember with gold is that while we here in the West are fixated on the gold mining companies, Newmont, Barrick, and so forth, they collectively, all the Western listed companies, we'll call it, collectively produce only about half of that 93 million ounces total. A lot of the rest of it comes from mom and pop or individual miners operating around the world in artisanal mines. Okay, you have people in Africa and Brazil and Southeast Asia and all over the place who basically make their livelihood from gold mining, artisanal gold mining. They don't produce a huge amount. Each person might produce a few tens of grams per year. But when there's 20 million people out there doing this kind of mining, that does have a huge impact on gold production. And, a lot of people say, well, gee, if gold prices rise, how much more can Newmont produce? How much more can Barrick produce? Look, they can definitely, start ramping up things and developing new projects, definitely. So I think there's a lot of room there. But where you really see a real kick, a supercharge in terms of increased gold production is actually out of the artisanal mining that happens around the world. When you see currencies devalue and the gold price effectively, which is measured in dollars and so forth, goes up, you see a lot more people jump into that artisanal mining space. Like in Africa, during the last gold cycle, say in 2010 and 11, when gold was trading up, $1,700, $1,900 US, which at that time was a peak, there was huge amounts of artisanal mining across Africa. It kind of subsided a little bit as the gold price came off, when it went down to 1,100 and hovered around 12 or 1,300 there for a long time. The activity in artisanal mining subsided, but now it's back up. So you'll probably see an increase in a few million ounces a year actually out of the artisanal level here going forward.
Well, very good. And that actually leads us to gold exploration companies. I know you are affiliated with Crescat Capital. And through that avenue, you have invested in some companies, and Blue Lagoon Resources is one of those. There's a good reason why you have put so much resources and investment strategies with Blue Lagoon Resources, especially with your geology background. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, look, it was about a year ago when I first heard the Blue Lagoon story. And when I first heard it, it was interesting, but what caught my attention was really the exploration upside, and that's where we put most of our money, our investment money. We invest in companies that have projects or deposits that could be world class. I want to find and invest in things that major mining companies or miners are going to want to buy. Okay, so Blue Lagoon, what attracted me? Well, while they do have aspirations to produce, and I think they are on a modest scale now, producing out of the existing vein at Dome Mountain, that's only a small part of this story. The real upside potential is the project itself. When I looked at it, I recognized that this was a certain type of gold system. In particular, it's called what we call an alkaline gold system. And it bears a resemblance to some other systems I know around the planet that have delivered multi-million ounce gold deposits. The Buritica deposit in Colombia is an example. Kelian in Indonesia. There's a deposit in Australia called Cowell that's very similar to this. And what you find is these things are quite subtle. They're often, they're not necessarily just real flashy in terms of their geologic expression, but they can deliver very, very high grades from nice, sheeted mineralized structures. These things go down literally to the depths of the earth. I mean, they can extend hundreds or even thousands of meters into the crust. When I saw Blue Lagoon, I was compelled. I said, you guys are onto an alkaline system. We took an investment there. The geologist who's running exploration there, Bill Cronk, and I had a meeting in which we discussed a strategy to explore this type of system. And guess what? They followed through. They're drilling aggressively. They hit recently announced some spectacular results in a new sheeted vein system that they found at the Chance area, the Chance zone. This includes an intercept that was a little over 7 meters of about a half an ounce gold. It was an amazing discovery. First drill hole really in that area, and they've already hit a home run.
That's amazing. And that's what it's about. That's what determines kind of the success. That's something that investors should look for is drill results and to see what's happening there. So, and you think more is to come? And is there any other recent news that you can talk about that investors may be interested in?
What's really important for people to realize is that this is an early stage story. The drilling that they did late last year, and they did drill clear up till nearly the end of the year, encompassed a very large number of holes. I think there's probably on the order of 25 or 30 drill holes that have yet to be fully assayed, that are in the lab in queue, basically waiting for assay. And I think you're going to see a lot more good news out of that. I know that Bill must have been excited about what he saw, because this January they announced that they are expanding their drill program. They're drilling yet another 20,000 meters. Now, look, I've been a geologist for a long time, and I know when you look at the rock coming out of the ground, there are things that get you excited. Well, they're clearly excited about this new discovery, because you would not commit to drilling an additional 20,000 meters if you didn't think you were onto something. So I would say people should hang tight, wait for further assays to come out from all of these polls that are in queue. But you also have a lot of news to look forward to, because the company is currently drilling aggressively now a 20,000 meter new program, in which I think by the end of this year, there'll be one of the more amazing discovery stories in Canada of 2022.
Oh, and that is part of it. It's about keeping up with the news, researching the company. And I want to ask you, too, what should people be cautious about? If they're going to be investing their money, what should they look for? What would be a downside as part of this?
Look, with mining companies, you always got to bear in mind that any junior mining company, if it has no cash flow, it must raise money. Now, they do have some cash flow from, like I said, we'll call it small-scale mining out of the existing vein. But, they're going to be undertaking 20,000 meter drill program. That's going to take some dough. Money is always needed in the mining space. These guys, I think, are pretty well cashed up at this time. So that's a good thing. Now, the other thing, look, global economic crisis like 2008, boy, like if something like that comes along, yeah, it can pull everything down with it. Okay, like, even a great story like this. But that doesn't bother me too much, because if you look, the stories that were really, truly special came right back out of that little dip we had in 2008 and 2009. And they ended up being rock stars afterwards. The subsequent years when we went into quantitative easing, there were a lot of really good gold stories that did very, very well. And even if we did go through a little bit of a dip on the back of, say, a global financial crisis-like event, I think we'll pull out very, very well here. So I'm not too worried about that. As far as what else do you worry about? Well, drilling, it's always taking a chance. But given the results I've seen so far, I actually feel very comfortable these guys are onto a significant alkaline gold system that could deliver, a jaw-dropping resource by the end of this exercise.
Good. That does sound exciting for sure. And it's amazing what's happening there at Blue Lagoon Resources. Well, thank you so much. How can people find out more information?
Look, the company's website, Blue Lagoon Resources, if you type that in.
It's bluelagoonresources.com. I'll actually post it in the description below.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And look, Ron and Vic, very diligent about answering questions. Some people even ask me questions from time to time. I'm always happy to answer them too.
Thank you so much, Doctor. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me. And I want to extend a multitude of gratitude to you, the viewers, for taking the time to watch this video, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.